We spend years and years and years learning repetitive locks. And in our mind, we believe that is a lock. We believe this lock works because this is how it's done. But what you have to understand is it's not the lock, it's the structure. So I could learn this lock this way, I could learn it 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 this way. It doesn't really matter. The problem is people will grab a lock and then they will struggle to get back to the lock they were taught because that's what they understand. What you have to understand is it's the structure, not the specific joint lock. So if you see this and you understand this works, you understand it works from multiple angles in multiple directions, it doesn't matter. So when I'm in the middle of this, what happens is I'm not looking to do a joint lock. I'm feeling and looking where his structure is. If I see something line up the way I want it, I just try to lean into it. You know, if it comes into a position where I can see it, I just try to lean into it. I don't go and then retry to set up into the perfect lock that I want. You have to be adaptable. You have to understand that in the middle of these things, you'll see stuff, and you have to take advantage of the fact that they're there. I'm not trying to do a lock. I'm trying to feel where they are. Another reason you can't do them like this, you're trying to do the lock, and you're not feeling for the tension. What you should be doing is you should feel, right there, where he loses mobility. Because why joint locks don't work is because either someone muscles through them and you can't get it on, or there's mobility for them to escape. When you're doing a lock, often you're focused on the lock, you're not focused on his mobility. So when I do these things, what I'm doing is I'm moving and I'm trying to feel right there. Right? I'm trying to feel where his joints don't have freedom of movement anymore. So I'm playing with these things. And as I move, I try and set him to a position where I feel he doesn't have any mobility in it. So when you do this, what you should be doing is you should be moving him first, feeling where his mobility ends, and then seeing where can you apply that type of lock to it. And if you do this enough, you'll get very sensitive to where the body is. And they'll come faster. It won't be like, hey, I got to put this lock on. You'll just feel it and you'll crank it down. Another problem people have is they want to do the lock and they focus on the lock. So what they do is they go, okay, this is a wrist lock. I'm going to this wrist. So they crank on the wrist like this. And you'll see it because you'll feel that the wrist. That's not what I'm trying to do. If you're good, you're trying to feel how it transfers into his whole body and affects him as a person. I don't want him just to move from the pain. I mean, I could put it painful to where he moves. But ideally what I try to do is I try and feel how that tension rolls through his whole body and down into his feet. Because I don't want to just control the arm. I just want to control his form. I want him to break at his center. So if I can take him, watch, let me just look. If I can take him, look at his body, see the shift? See how he starts to shift? And now when I do this, it gets much worse than if I just try and crank on the wrist. If you crank on the wrist, they're just injuries, and that's fine too. I mean, if you just want to jump on a wrist and try and destroy something, that works. But if you're looking to do control, you need to find a way to move his body before you do the lock. So as I'm doing this, you want to work into him, and then that works. Don't just sit there and crank on the lock. Study him as a person. See how he moves? Right there. Now if I want to do this, it's much easier. I think the last reason people struggle is they try to do locks. Locks aren't always appropriate. If he knows I'm going to put this lock on, and he tenses up, I'm not putting that lock on. It's not going to happen. It's no different than a fight. If I told him I was going to punch him in the face, it would be very hard to punch him in the face because he knows how to defend that. You go to grab somebody, and they go, no, well, you're not putting it on. That's why you see this all the time. People go up, and they do these stupid challenges with each other. You can't joint lock me. And you try and crank it on, and it doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't work. He knows it's coming. He's going to fight it. So when you do joint locks, you have to understand when you're in the middle of a fight, there are times where joint locks are not appropriate. You just might have to plan them, and that's fine. But also, if you want to put it on, if he's resisting, You may have to set something up first to make that happen. I might have to club them. I might have to kick them. I might have to move them, and then this happens. Joint locking is part of the whole process. It's not just joint locking. You have to mix it in with everything you do. You have to be able to hit or kick or off balance or throw or hit, and then these things show up nicely. I mean, this guy, people don't just let you put them on. And if you think you're just going to crank these on people, you're wrong. And this is why joint locking has such a bad reputation, because people go in against people who know it, like MMA guys, and they're like, go ahead and joint lock me, and it doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't work. You know, wrap them really hard first, and then see how it works. Joint locks always work on people when they're unconscious. I'm a big fan of that. Smack! Hey, look, guess what? This works now. He's hurt. So don't just take this as, I need to put a joint lock on. Learn how to incorporate it into your work. There's another video I've put out called Straights and Joint Locking Together, and you will see how you flow together with hits, joint locks back to hits, and you'll learn very quickly how to adapt and come back to other things so you can change all the time. Don't limit yourself to just joint locking. Teach yourself to be a martial artist. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel immensely.